with Errica. We made it back. We took a little bit of rest last week to spend some time with our families. My son had been here for the last couple of months, and it was my last Monday night with him. So we had family time before I sent him back to the cold state of Minneapolis. So it was wonderful to have him to be here with the family. And we had birthdays that were celebrated, and we have all these wonderful things that were going on. So we just took a little bit of time to spend some moments to have those wonderful memories with family. So I thank you all for joining us tonight as we have embarked into the month of December, our last few weeks before we roll over into 2024. And these are our last three shows that we're going to be doing this year for 2023. So I thank you all for being here with us tonight. So I am your host, Errica Bishop. I thank you all for being here with me on this journey that we started back in June. And with me, of course, I have with me the wonderful Alicia Johnson from the 1212 community, and also Pastor Sean Dreer that has recently joined us. And I thank him so much also for his time from being here with us as well. So as you all are coming in, please like, please share, please tag, please let everyone know that we're here so they can come on over to Evolve and Elevate with Errica and join the conversation tonight as we're going to be talking about Gratitude Chronicles, wisdom gained in years in. So at this time, I'm going to let Alicia introduce herself to you and also Pastor Sean Dreer, and we're going to kick off tonight.
Hello, hello, hello. It's good to be back. I am Alicia Johnson, the creator of the 1212 community, and the 1212 community is dedicated to helping everyone who chooses to learn how to recalibrate their lives to live 12 hours for God and 12 hours for man. And we do that in a myriad of ways. But one of, I guess, our most anchored way is through the power of journaling. And so we journal every morning, Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. without fail, so that you can always have a space where you can put God first in everything that you do. So that's who I am in a nutshell.
Thank you, and thank you for being here with us, Pastor Sean.
All right, my name is Sean Drew. I'm excited to be here. I'm just glad to still be at the cool kids table. I must be all right. I get to hang out with the cool kids for a little bit longer. So I'm a change agent, as I say each time. That's probably the best way to summarize it. I do my best to try to bring change, whether it's in the coaching space or the religious space. So I'm just grateful to be here. Looking forward to a great conversation. Next time I need one of them real good intros, I'm gonna call Alicia and let her. The way she just say her intro, it just sounds so good. It just make you want to journal at 5 a.m. I love it.
You can come join us anytime, anytime. Plenty of room.
She'll definitely get you in there. I've been in it for the last couple of years now, so you will get in the community. It's a lot of great conversation that goes on. You need to go ahead and cross on over
Cross
and
over
join
at
us
5
at 5
a.m.
a.m.
You
Yeah,
have plenty of
come
company.
on and join us. So we are so happy that you all are here with us. Again, I'm Errica Bishop with Evolve and Elevate with Errica, as well as Empowered to Prosper Coaching and Consulting, helping those individuals understand their emotions, helping them move past those traumas that continue to trail them and get to a place where they communicate healthily in a very authentic way what their needs are when it comes to their emotions and their needs. And that is in their professional and in their personal relationships. So, tonight, as we get into this conversation tonight, we've been talking about a lot of things over the last, good Lord, it's been 6 months, over the last 6 months since we started this journey. And tonight, we're going to talk about the wisdom that we have gained as we've gotten to the end of this year. So, normally I start with a question, but tonight, I'm going to start by giving some wisdom that I have gained throughout this year. And one of the things that I have learned throughout this year is to just let people be. Let people be who they are. Let people show up as they need to. Let people be everything within what they consider to be their truth and not try to conform anyone to anything that I think that they need to be. Let people show up fully for who they are in their place of authenticity and save space for that for them, as well as I would want someone to save that same space for me and let them allow themselves to continue to be that. That way, I have learned and understood that I cannot expect myself out of other people.
Mm,
So I have learned to just let people be.
mm. Mm. That's a good lesson. That is a good lesson to learn. And I'm sitting over here trying to share all of this out. It ain't working, so I'm just gonna let it do what it does. So anyway, learning to let people be. That's a good one. That's a big one. So how do you do that, Errica?
I think it was after enough disappointment and realizing that um I can't control people, because in me trying to control people, I'm in God's way and I'm trying to manipulate or force something on someone else's free will, and that's not my place. Um and that puts me in a place with God that I don't want to be. So, we can make ourselves enemy of God's unaware, and I don't want to be an enemy of God in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So I don't want to be in the middle of anything that God is trying to do in and through someone. Which means that I had to resolve some things within myself to understand that I had to give people room for them to be themselves, just like I need to have space for me to be me. And when I got that revelation, and that was um with a particular individual that I worked with, honey, he would work my nerves so bad. It would just send me up one wall and down the other. And I was just at work and I heard God so clearly. And the Holy Spirit was like, stop expecting that person to be you. They're not going to do it like you. And when I realized that, and it was like, let them make the commitment and you hold them accountable to the commitment, and that's it. However, they move on the commitment, that's them. But if they make the commitment, that's the only thing that you have to do is hold them to the commitment that they made. And when I got that revelation, that freed me and just removed all the anxiety and the stress of me trying to force someone to see through my eyes, understand my way of thinking, or explain myself to a place of oblivion and just craziness, and they weren't catching it. So I said, you know what? Let people be and let them alone. They on their journey. You on yours. Let them be.
Amen. Amen. And I think that that's a lot easier said than done for most people. So for you to have accomplished that, that's powerful.
But it's a constant reminder. It's a constant reminder. It's like, okay, I have to tell myself, okay, Errica, don't expect. You have to keep saying it to yourself. Don't do it. It's a constant reminder.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I know for me, I guess one of the things that I've learned this year and to be grateful for is like just being in the present, just being in the present moment and not going too far into the future or too far into the past, because literally now is all you have. That's it. That's it. Like this moment, I mean, I could drop after this call or after this, and this moment in time would be my gift at this, at this particular place. And so I've learned um to really appreciate whatever moment that I'm in and to really like take inventory of everything. There used to be times when I would have a conversation with people, not remember the conversation, be in a room, not remember it happening. But now that I'm learning to be present, I find that that's one way to redeem the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one thing I'm grateful for is being able to acknowledge that gift of the present moment so that time can be redeemed. So that's one
Mm-hmm.
thing for me.
That's beautiful.
I'm excited
You know,
about.
that was some feedback that I received from one of my mentors because of the overthinking. And I would find myself thinking so far ahead. My persona, I'm in the room, but my body language and everything gave I wasn't there. Of course, I didn't see that because I was in drive mode. I'm trying to get stuff done. And she said, and she was so sweet. She said, "Dear, you just have to learn how to be present in the moment." I was like, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Because when you spend so much time thinking, you're multitasking in your mind and you're not giving eye contact, and your body language disconnects you from the people in the room. And when I learned to be present, I began to receive a lot more, just like you said, Alicia, of all the things I had missed and all those wonderful whispers. Oftentimes, through the Holy Spirit, I was missing because I was too far out somewhere else."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, better to learn that sooner than later, though.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, this is so good. Y'all are. I want to go back to something, Erica. You said I don't think you understand how strong that was. In the just letting people be. So I think it takes. So even to Alicia's point in terms of how you actually do that, I think we underestimate the importance of humility. So I think as in any leadership capacity, whether you're a parent, supervisor, whatever capacity you're functioning in, I think it's important to have humility because without it, you can't come to a conclusion like let people be. Because there are times where we assume that just because we want what's best for someone, that we know what's best for them.
Mm-hmm.
And the two aren't the same thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I can want what's best for you and not necessarily know what's best for you. So it takes humility to be able to step back and say, there are things about you that I don't know. Because, like you say, I'm not God.
Mm-hmm.
So there are things about your journey, there are things about where you are in that journey that I'm just not aware of. And so, though I may be frustrated at where you are, though I may be frustrated at what I perceive to be dysfunctional behavior, I am, as Paul said, seeing through a glass darkly. So there are things that I just don't know. And there are times where when we get further down the road, we're like, oh, that's why you didn't let me do this or that,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't know where. But it takes a great deal of humility to be able to do that, and I think that's so many of us are missing that, which is why we see so much of the just discord, even on social media. We see it in office culture, just so many places because we have this idea that we're supposed to know things about people that God doesn't always give us insight to be able to know. But I think for me, the biggest thing that I've learned this year, I don't think I learned it. I wouldn't say I learned it this year. I would say I saw the results of it this year. So it made more sense to me this year. And that's this. The greatest investment that you can make is the investment that you make in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the fruit of that this year. The greatest investment you can make is the investment you make in yourself because we live in this culture where people are more invested in what they put on them than what they put in them.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got people who look good but are empty. And whatever you do, is going to rise or fall based on the level of your own development. So there are people who like, well, I want to be a good parent. Well, you can't be a good parent if you're not a good person. I want to be a good spouse. You can't be a good spouse if you're not a good person. I want to be a good friend. You can't be a good friend if you're not a good person. And so for me, that was the biggest lesson that I learned this year, is that the greatest investment I can make is the investment I make in me. So when I sign up for courses and I pursue certifications and I do things, I am making an investment in me, and nothing is going to give me the kind of return that I'm going to give me. No house, no stock, no nothing is going to give me the kind of return that I'm going to give me. So for me, that was the biggest lesson this year.
Mm.
You know, I was about to be smart. I am. So you mean to tell me that there are people out here who look fine as wine, but they empty? They don't have nothing in them?
100%.
No.
100%.
Wow. Interesting.
I think also one of the everyone can learn this lesson, but like aging is beautiful. Like getting older is beautiful. Being able to acquire knowledge and wisdom is beautiful, and use it and use it. And I think that so many times people are running from age and running from maturity and running from, all of the things that life is about. It's like, I think that that's one of the greatest lessons that I'm learning now as I age and as I mature. And a lot of times people want to, negate older people or just kind of push them to the side or whatever. And it's just like, you learn how to do things differently. Like you want to be able to age. You want to be able to, say that you've had a great long life. But the only way you're going to get there is like, Sean said, invest in yourself. Like do all of the things that you need to do so that you are your biggest return on investment. That as you do age, as you do grow, as you do mature, you are maturing and growing on a solid foundation because you put in the work. Like you've done what you need to do. And I think that that's something that especially in like this social media age and everything, we just see everybody trying to be so young, everybody trying to, act the same way. It's like you should not be 60, 70 years old acting like your 20-year-old, grandchild or your, it's like, sure, have fun, do all of those things, but trying to make it a lifestyle, trying to compete, trying to, oh my gosh, that's exhausting just watching. Just, I think that aging gracefully is something that I'm learning. I'm learning to embrace and not run from. I think, yeah, act your age. Yes, act your or whatever that looks like. Whatever that looks like. If you're just a naturally like youthful person, then there are just some people that just have a very young spirit, and I get that. But just be that person. Don't try to be over the top by it's just you have to witness it to understand it. But there's some people that are like 90 years old and they have like such a young and fun spirit. They're not out here trying to compete with people. It's just that that's how they move. And there's some people that are 50 years old and they act like they 90 years old. But, just be who God has created you to be and age gracefully. Whatever that looks like for you. Whatever that looks like. And prayerfully, it looks age appropriate.
Ooh, I know some stories to go with that.
I think it's an important key that you mentioned earlier, Alicia, is this idea of being in the moment. like being present. So I think the same way there are some people who are preoccupied with the future, so they can't be present in the moment. There are some people that are preoccupied with the past,
Mm.
so they can't be present in the moment.
Mhm.
And so it's hard to act your age when you're trying to make up for time
Right.
you feel like you've wasted.
That's true.
And so you got a lot of people who, when you talk to them, you can tell that they're stuck.
Mhm.
You can tell because they're always talking about when things were a certain way, when they used to be this or that. And so I think that some of that is contributing to just these feelings of frustration with a lot of people, because we hadn't been present because we always think that somewhere else is more important. And we never actually take the time to live in the moment. So I think that, just kind of coincides with the point you made earlier. I think if people can be present, then you can embrace where you are. So, you hear people say, "Oh, you don't look 70." Well, you still 70 though, sugar. You may not look 70, but you still 70. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like you said, there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with
Like, be 70. Like,
you
there's
were once 20, you were once 30, and this is the thing, like Mike and I, we just laugh, like when we see the younger people, like, let them have their time to shine. You had your time. Like, we on the other side of the grill now. You know what I'm saying? It's like everyone, as long as you have breath in your body, everyone is going to have their moment to shine and to do what they need to do. But like you were saying, like people that live too far in the future or people that live too far in the past, if they miss that moment, like that's one thing I can honestly say about my late teens and early 20s. I ain't miss out on nothing. Like I don't have any like, well, if I had been well in my 20s, if I had, that's why you have to be in the moment at the time that you're in it so that you don't have to go back and and it's like try to relive those moments that you missed. And I think that a lot of people are forced out of that opportunity by too many responsibilities or societal perceived societal opportunities or obligations, and they miss that window of opportunity to be truly who they are. And then when they get to the place where they feel stable and they've done everything, now they want to revert back to recapturing their youth. And and it's like, be in the moment. If you're 20, enjoy. That's why I love watching our children in their 20s, and we're not putting any unnecessary pressure on them to be who we want them to be, or to grow up and to act this way and to do all of it's gonna come. It's gonna come. The maturity is encoded in the process. Like the real life heavyweight stuff is encoded in there. And I think that a lot of times, like for my parents and stuff, I I scared them. I scared them, especially like my mom and my dad, because they started doing adult things really early. Like 19 years old, my mom was pregnant with, her first baby right out of, high school. And my dad, they started everything so early that to watch me, I was considered like the wild child or whatever, but to watch me made them nervous. But now in hindsight, I'm grateful that I was able to do. There's nothing that anyone can tell me that would make me feel like I missed out on anything. Like, oh man, I wish I could have done that when I been there, done that. Nothing would draw me back to have to act any way other than, who God has created me to be now. But I think a lot of people have missed those opportunities, and they've studied so hard in school, and they've gotten all of the degrees, and they've gotten the house, and they've gotten the car, and they've gotten all of these things. And now they're like, is this it? This is it. Now I'm going to go out and have some fun. And it's like, Okay, your knees, your mind might be 20. You might be thinking 20, but your knees about 55, 60. Your back, everything on your body is a different age at this point. It's like, so I think that that's one of the things that people really need to just enjoy where you are.
You know, that's very powerful. I watched a young lady who um she made a comment. She said she was talking to her daughter who was, I think, about 11 or 12. And she made the comment to her daughter. She said, when I was your age, I was doing da 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 da. And she said, God stopped her dead in her tracks and said, do not rob the childhood from your daughter because you didn't have one.
Mm, that's good.
And she had to sit for a minute. He said, she is doing what she's supposed to do at 11 and 12. You had to do other things and you didn't have a childhood because you had to grow up so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, as parents, we will find ourselves saying, you're irresponsible, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. When I was your age, I was doing this, I was doing that. And I told my child when I was 25, I was married, and 26, I'd had my son. And I told my son, I said, do not get married no time soon. Enjoy your life. Please go travel the world. Be single as long as you can before you settle. I said, if you find the right one, great. I said, but 25 was too early.
Mm-hmm.
26 was too early. I had no clue. Lord knows. And it was nothing but God that really helped me raise y'all too, because I did not know what I was doing. And it was one of those things that I encouraged them to enjoy your years, because life is here and it's going to be here and it's not going anywhere. And when you hit that curve, be ready for it because it's coming. So definitely, Alicia, I'm in total agreement. Enjoy where you are, because I'm enjoying my 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Every part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
taking it one year at a time. Enjoying every part of it.
And that's the thing. If you don't learn to enjoy it now, when are you going to learn? It's like you got to it's a conscious decision that you have to make to say that I'm going to enjoy my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm literally going to enjoy every aspect of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard in society when society is constantly teaching you and putting in front of you that you got to have more. You got to have, if you're not, you can fly on a plane, but if you're not first class, then that's not it. Well, you can be first class, but if you don't have your own jet, then that's not it. And if you don't have your own, it's always something else. When are you going to be happy? When are you going to enjoy life? When are you going to say, this right here in my hand is all I have at the moment. So what am I going to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
And when you start to do that, and this is the thing that, like, food tastes better.
Yes.
I remember, like, growing up, how those like, well, my big mama, she would make how you want to go to McDonald's, but they would make the homemade hamburger patties, the homemade, and if we didn't have hot hamburger buns, put it on the regular bread.
Right, bread. Yes, ma'am.
It was so much love in those things. And it was just like using what you have, putting all of the love that you have in it. Like, those memories for me are priceless.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the simple things, like, you can take the most, I mean, when we were last weekend, this is my first time going to the African American History Museum here in DC. And when I went in, I'm from Alabama, so I knew I was gonna be a little twisted when I got up in there. I was mad walking up in there. My husband's like, "Don't go in here acting a fool." So, they make you. They suggest that you start at the bottom so you can work your way up. And being there, like, as you start to move through, you kind of get to see how this is how powerful we are as a people. I mean, this is how you can feel the power in it, like making the best of the worst situations.
Mm-hmm.
Like the best of the worst situations. Now, I eat food. If the food is good, I mean, I'm gonna eat it, okay? I'm from the country, I'm from the South and all of that. The fact that our people could make chitlins, even a debate at this point. The fact that people debate over whether or not to eat that's how powerful we are as a people, to be grateful no matter what no matter what hand you've been dealt.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful. It's like we're going to give you all the scraps. We're going to give you all of the things that nobody else will. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. And what we going to do? We're going to turn it into macaroni and cheese. We're going to turn it into fried chicken. We're going to turn it into chitlins. Now that is the power of gratitude.
You know, when you say that, they just sparked so many memories. The first time I met one of my great grandmothers, she lived to be what we think was 102.
Mm,
She might have been older
mm-hmm,
because, you know, at that time they really didn't keep records that
mm-hmm,
well. We think she might have been 102.
mm-hmm,
And she's from Union, and she's still
mm-hmm,
living in a shotgun house in Union,
mm-hmm,
and with the wood burning stove and the outhouse. But when I walked in her house, the wallpaper was newspaper.
mm-hmm,
You know, you
mm-hmm.
had that one little iron bed sitting in the front, the little iron stove, and could make the best upside down cake. Oh my, pineapple upside down cake, make you want to slap somebody. Kitchen wasn't as big as somebody's half bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
but she made it and chopped her own wood until she was 96 years old. Never had full electricity, never wanted to change anything. And but she was so, oh my God, heart was just so full of joy.
Mm-hmm.
Heart was just
Mm-hmm.
so full of gratitude. And you just, those moments I'll never forget as a child, just to just to sit at her feet and just listen to her tell the stories. And even though I didn't get to be with her long, but I remember when I ended up having to go visit her in the nursing home after she had broke her hip. And she will always, you have to sing with her before you could leave. She was the type of person, she always had a song to sing.
Oh, right. My
And you
God.
would have to sit and sing with her. And she would say, something like, well, do you know the man? And you be looking like, well, grandma, what are you talking about? And then she starts singing, do you know the man? And she just starts singing a hymn or whatever it was. She just come up with all these hymns. And when she passed, the funeral was so huge. Nobody knew what church she belonged to because she went to all the churches. Went to all the churches. Nobody knew what church she belonged to. But it was just so full of love and joy and gratitude. And you just like, you know what? That when you talk about what you took it and you just made what you could out of it, and that you take with you, and that you harness it and you hold on to it, and you add it to the stuff that goes on in life every day, and you take
Mm-hmm.
those memories and you add them to the stuff that goes on in your life, and it gives you even more gratitude for the
Mm-hmm.
stuff that happens. And I'm about to run up in here right now, y'all. I'm about to cry too. But it does it for you. It really does.
And
Sean, what
that's
you got?
why.
Yeah, go ahead, Alicia.
No. I was just saying that's why we as a people perplex society. I've read this book one day. I got to revisit. It's a huge book. It's called Without Contract or Consent.
Ooh, let me
And
write this.
it deals with like the plight of the African American, like everything that we have been put through, the middle passage, stripped away of our hair, all of those things, and still we rise, And there are people still doing great things. Like, how is it that you can be robbed of everything
Mm.
and still turn this thing around?
Yes.
It's gratitude. We
Mm.
may not have much, but we gonna make do with what we got. Like, I still have quilts that my grandmother and my great auntie, and they would. I love it because every time, I mean, and these things were heavy. I mean, I still
Mhm.
sleep, like when I sleep, I feel like I'm sleeping with the ancestors. I'm like, oh my goodness. And my big mama and her sister, they would put their engrave their initials in them, so they would know whose quilt was who, so you knew who you got. So I would, I would get those, and it's like you can feel the love, like nothing was wasted. Like,
Mhm.
it was a piece of a shirt from here, and it was a piece of an apron from here, and it was a piece of this from there, and it was a piece of this. And it was like, and they worked to, you can feel the love.
Mhm.
Even till this day, it still permeates.
Mhm.
And I think that that's one of the things that a lot of our society is missing,
Yeah.
is the love of the simple things,
Mhm.
the love of understanding what love is.
Mhm.
And I think that a lot of times that was also corrupted because of people's, like people, I think, like the gratitude piece, and that can also be used for evil as well. People know that you're grateful, people know that you're humble, people can take advantage of that. So you have to be sober in your understanding that there's a place for gratitude and humility, but then you also have to be vigilant in doing, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a
Mhm.
balance to it. And I know so many people have been taken advantage of because of their gratitude and their humility. And
Mhm.
I think that, like, these platforms and, platforms like yours help people to tap into that gratitude. And you can be sweet, and you can be loving, and you can do everything that needs to be done, but you can also be about your business.
Mhm.
And I think that a lot of times in this society, we miss it. We think we have to be one or the other.
Mhm.
I'm a boss, I'm a this, I'm a that. Ain't nobody gonna run over me. If you don't, it's like, no, it's got to be balanced.
Mhm.
Like, the love has to run as deep.
Mhm. You're
And
right.
yeah, and that's what's missing in this society, I feel personally.
You are right.
Yeah, I think we one of the things that is always so important to me is, even in conversations when we talk about some of the challenges that have come with the advancement of society, and we've lost so many of the stories. And really, I think there are just two things that really impact your gratitude. The first one is where you live. So there's a degree of entitlement that people in the West, especially America, there's just a degree of entitlement that we have. And I think the other thing is the time in which you were born just impacts your gratitude. So I remember my grandmother, she kept she kept everything. I mean, it'd be butter bowls in the cabinet, no butter in them, just empty bowls. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, why is all of this in the, and I had no idea that she had been shaped by the time in which she was born. So my grandmother was born in 1925. So she had been a kid during her formidable years during the Great Depression, where you didn't throw stuff away. Because you think about where the country was, and then you imagine where black folk were. So wherever if the country was struggling, black folk was on the ground. So you grew up in a time where you didn't throw things away. So those things informed how she grew up and how she managed her life. So even now, I mean, my grandmother, when she passed, her house was paid for, her land was paid for, all of that good stuff. And my grandmother did graduate from middle school. So I think growing up in that kind of era where you had to earn the stuff that you got, where you had to work hard, where you had to treat people right. Even if people didn't treat you right, you had to treat people right. There were just certain things that she believed in, and I think over time a lot of that has just gotten lost in our culture, because now when we look out, we've got so many people who have so much more. So you guys are a little older than I am, so I want to ask you guys this question: how do you, in terms of gratitude, how do you help a generation who doesn't know what it's like not to have it? So, because I think that is and it's hard because I think I can see both ends of the spectrum. So, and I'm always faced with this issue when I'm having these conversations about generational diversity with different people, because you got older folk on this side who are just like, no, they need to be this, and then you got the young folk on this side who just like, no, they don't understand. And I think there's the challenge is, on the one end, I understand where the older folks are coming from, partly because I was raised by a grandmother. So there are certain old school traditions and stuff I got. And like, we had a wood stove until 2011. My grandmother ended up dying in 2013. So she only had 2 years of actual central heat and air. So we didn't have any of that when I was growing up. And so I remember the chopping wood and doing all the stuff. But so in that, as I look around now and I think about, it doesn't matter how much we fuss, it doesn't matter how much we argue, it doesn't matter how much we press, you can't give someone an experience they never had. And when you are born into a culture that has so much at your disposal, when you're born, like I was doing some research on the emerging generation or Generation Alpha, and they talk about how tablets are the new pacifiers. So you think about what our kids are going through. So as you guys having, wisdom and experience, and really just being situated kind of in the middle of two worlds, you guys remember the old generation, yet you have children who are in this later generation. How do you balance that? How do you balance not being so critical of them sometimes in their lack of gratitude, because it's hard to be grateful when you've always had this. So how do you balance that?
For me, one of the things that I realize it, and as heartbreaking as it is, history repeats itself. And I think about, like, if you think about back to like antiquity, and you think about the pyramids, and you think about all of the like hieroglyphics and the technology that they had back then, right? Like you like, their society had to be at a place that was over the top. Like, it had to be like, I mean, come on now. The pyramid, they still trying to figure out how in the heck did they lift these stones? Like, how did they, how many technology going on back in the day? How many billions of years old is Earth? It's like billions of years old. So we have to kind of think that society goes through cycles. And as society starts to advance and people start to get confident in their ability to make things happen, and morals start to decline, and people start to devolve instead of evolve, we're in a very prayerful time, because there's absolutely, it has to be a collective effort. I know what I instill in our children. I know what my husband and our desires are, and the way that we've set up our household so that our children know they have to work for things. They know that integrity matters. They know that all of these things we parent through consequences, and that's our household. And we know that what we've done works for us. But the world at large, everyone is not subscribing to that. And so Mother Earth, Mother Gaia, whatever you want to call Earth, it's like Earth has a way, and it's almost like when you think about the planet Earth and how old it is, okay? It's like I just imagine all of the tears, all of the blood, all of the suffering, all of the things that are being absorbed into the earth, into Mother Earth. At some point, it's going to erupt. And you know how civilizations are destroyed and things happen and then out of the abyss, there's like this little bitty green leaf and everything starts over again. And unfortunately, unless we all come together collectively, that's the direction we're moving in. Because people are so void of compassion. And collectively, there are people, there are pockets of people that are compassionate. There are pockets of people that by and large want to see things done well and want to see things happen, well for other people. But when you look at like the political climate, when you look at what's going on in Israel and the Gaza, all of those things, when you put it in light of Bible prophecy, when you put it in light of everything that's happening, you can only do so much with your own children. And it's hopeful and it's sad all at the same time. I look at my children and my husband and I, we were talking about this the other day, and it's amazing when we thought about it. It's like our legacy ends if our daughter doesn't have children, if our son doesn't have children. Like, this is it for us, like for our legacy, for our lineage. And I look at my family personally. My sister doesn't have children, and my brother, he has children. They adopted their children. I mean, they're our children, but it's like it ends. And there's so many people that have been so selfish in the sense that, families used to be huge a long time ago. My daddy was one of 13. The families were huge back then. Family sizes are dwindling. People are, waiting later to have children. You have children whenever, you feel you had to. If I had children when I was older, if I had children at like this age right now, those children would be raising me. I just wouldn't have the energy to do it. I think that plays a dynamic into it as well. So as far as like giving advice or helping people to understand, it's prayer. Like, we got to pray through this. Like, there's certain things that physically we just cannot do because the task is just too big. It's spiritually. This is why the work that we do, me personally, it's all about the spiritual development. Because you can do more spiritually when you know how to connect spiritually than you can physically. And I have seen prayer change things that in the physical would take multiple years to get done. But you got to get people to the place of understanding the power of the spirit realm, like understanding the power of prayer, understanding those things. And that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. Errica, what you got?
Um,
Sean's like, ooh, I wasn't thinking about
you know, God honors the prayers of parents
it. Mm-hmm.
for their children. And I'm right there with you on that, because there have been prayers that I have said, God, I need them to get it.
Mm-hmm.
I need them to understand it. Now, I'm asking you to cover them through the experience, but I know you about to take them through a journey for them to understand and help me not to get in the middle, because mamas, we want to go in and fix and do when we see stuff happening. So, I know that anytime you serve other people, it opens you up to see things you normally wouldn't see. The other part of it is we don't serve enough anymore. The level of servitude to serve others that are less fortunate to you has gone by the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
We serve in order to be seen.
Mm-hmm. For the ground.
We don't serve because it's the right thing to do. We
Mm-hmm.
serve to be seen. We serve for people to get likes. We serve to get to do reels. We serve to get content. We don't serve other people in the ways that we normally would. I would tell you, one of the things, even for me, that really helped me and even broke me was when I did prison ministry. That
Mm-hmm.
was the best things I could have ever done.
Me too.
When I say will break you all the way down,
Mm-hmm.
go serve in prison ministry.
Mm-hmm.
It would literally transform your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been blessed that my children have been in a position where they have had opportunities to serve, and they put themselves in position to continue to do that, because they understand that they need it. They understand that I need to be out in the community and do different things because it's a part of who I am, and when I'm not doing it, something's off. So they put it, as a matter of fact, my son and I had this conversation while he was here, because he said, I came home intentionally to get a reset. So he came home for 2 months. He said, Mom, I need a reset. So it was good for him to come home to get that. And he puts himself in different things for community involvement. And it's serving in prayer. That's the only way. That's two of the best ways. I'm not gonna say it's the only way, but it's two of the best ways. It's when we serve others that are less fortunate than us, and it's the prayer
Mm-hmm.
for those who see that we need it. Because many of us, the reason why we've gone through the journeys that we've gone through, because somebody had to pray for our little crazy selves, because we wasn't getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to pray for us to get it. So in
Mm-hmm.
turn, we do the same for our children and hope that they get it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're right there, Sean. It's so much. I watched this one lady. She's working 160 hours. No, who works 160 hours a week? She's working 160 hours a week so that she could give her son $2,500 a month for
I'm
his
about to hang up. Look, I'm
lifestyle.
about to, like I'm on the phone. I'm about to hang up on you.
For his lifestyle. When did that become okay?
160 hours a week. How many?
She don't sleep. The woman is
40.
completely exhausted. That don't even mathematically make any sense.
You said 160 hours a week.
That doesn't even make sense.
That don't make sense.
You working an extra job to keep up with a child's lifestyle that don't even work because he want to wear designer clothes. Honey, if it got a name on it, it's designer.
Mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. And one thing, and when you pay attention to society wants to rob us of that soul connection, that spiritual connection.
That part.
Because one thing that I know growing up, like we didn't have all of these distractions. And you could go outside, like you would be playing in nature, like you be playing, like making mud pies, playing in the dirt, playing tag, running, being in the grass,
From
being with the
sun up to
trees,
sundown. Come in
just
smelling like outside.
right. And nature, like that spirit, the spiritual aspects of life are being robbed. We're being robbed of that. And all of the electronics, like we're electric, like we have energy running through us. And people act like this is just a cell phone. This is this. All of these things are interfering with our connectivity to heaven. Like we're water, we're electricity, we're our wires are getting scrambled. And that's intentional, because once you can take a people away from their source, from hearing from God, from understanding what the Spirit has to say, honey, you got them. You got them. That's why I'm so adamant about people understanding their God voice, understanding how God speaks to you. Because one day, if the phones go, all of the technology goes down, and you don't have a connection outside of the electronics, you lost. You lost. But when you know how to hear from God, and you know how to tap into the atmosphere, and you have that internal guidance system, you can take my phone. I don't need the phone. I don't need nothing. All I need is prayer. And see, they haven't figured out how to tap into your prayer life yet. And this is why prayer in the secret places is so important. I have proven this to myself too many times for me to be discredited by anybody. God has said a thing, I have heard the thing, and I have seen the thing. And you need to be in the secret places so that you have confidence enough to know that God circumvents all electronics. Like this is so on earth as it is in heaven. For everything in the natural, there's a parallel or corresponding occurrence in the supernatural. All of the stuff that we have here on earth, the world is very spiritual. It's perverted, but it's very spiritual. Think about it. God tells you something, right? And then you go out and you experience it, like, oh my God, how did you know that? Or somebody's getting ready to call you, and God says somebody's going to call you, and boom, the phone rings. This was prior to this, right? So the world is paying attention to people like us who are spiritually connected, and they trying to figure out, like, how does that work? Now, the duplication of that is that you in the mall, you talking and you talk about some red bottom shoes. You walk into the mall and then you like, oh my God, look, there's a sale on red bottom shoes. God must have heard me. Oh my goodness, God is good. No, baby, this is the world duplicating what God has already perfected. This is why I don't rely on technology in the way that people rely on technology. But a lot of times people rely on technology as an end all, like AI and all of that stuff. It's just like, the computers are going to outsmart humans and da-da-da. Ooh, that's scary. Because if you are subscribing to that, then you have no faith in God. Like there is absolutely nothing that can trump God's power. So those are the things that we have to teach our children, like how to tap into their God voice. And then like my son, for example, he's very spiritually connected, but it scares him because most of his friends aren't. So he doesn't want to stand out and be a sore thumb. And so I'm grateful that he feels comfortable enough to come to me to talk about all of the woo-woo stuff. But that makes him more, how can I put it, better equipped to deal with life, because I know that he has that foundation. Whether or not he uses it, I can't control that, but I know it's in him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that as parents, that's our responsibility. Like you were saying, you can't stop your kids from doing what they're going to do. But once you know that they have that foundation and they know, you know what they can draw on, if they do get into it, then you can rest easy. But a lot of parents don't know how to set that foundation for their children because they don't have it themselves, because they're so busy trying to get the houses, get the cars, make everything so comfortable that spiritually the children are starved.
Mhm. And that spawned a thought for me. And one of the things that when we talk about gratitude, it's quietness. Because it's in the stillness and the quietness is when we hear God.
Amen.
And one of the things that I have both told both of my adults, I call them my adults, is get still so you can hear God. Pull away and don't be afraid to get missing. Don't be afraid to pull back, because oftentimes, the world wants you in the mix all the time, always out in the grind, always at the party, always doing this. No, no, no. Sometimes you got to steal away for just a little bit. And you got to go, and I'm trying to teach them how to have a secret place that they can go to so that they can hear God for themselves and to remove all of the noise because of all the other distractions and everything else. Shut the phone down, turn off the TV, pull away from the social media, pull back and just get into where you need to be, what I call your God space. And when we can teach our children and when we can do that ourselves, that's where our strength and our power lies.
Yeah. And we have to be an example for them. Like, we can't just tell them what to do. We can't just, like, for example, when God was dealing with me, like, early on in all of our chaos and all of those things, and I'll never forget this one day, I was fussing at my son, and I walked into his room. I was like, look at this mess. This is ridiculous. You got to clean this up and clean your room up. And God was like, go clean up yours. I was like, oh, okay. All right. Because your children respond better to seeing you in action. You can show them better than you can tell them. And I'll never forget early on, I used to always talk about, I just want peace in this house. I want peace in this house. There's no peace. I'm screaming now about peace, right? So I'm like screaming, throwing stuff. I just want peace. And God was like, you got to be the peace. You've got to be the peace. See, it's easier to pay lip service to things than to do the things. And now that I embody everything that I expect from them. Like when you were talking earlier about don't expect things from people, like don't expect you out of other people. I expect me out of me. And so when I'm showing up as me, everybody and everything else has to get into alignment. And so my children, I used to scream and I used to fuss, and God was like, that's not how you do this. The answer is within. Mm-hmm. And every time something major would pop off, I get they call it, how you go to the bodegas and, you get those Jesus candles, the long candles. Honey, when I'm serious about something, I need to maintain my focus and I need to just stay in constant prayer. I keep that candle burning until that situation is done. And one day my son came in the house and he walked in. As soon as he looked to the left, he looked, what's going on, mama? What's going on? He was like, because as soon as I light that candle, you know that there's some work going on in the secret places. And they watch and they know. And they know that in order to hear from God, you got to be still. You got to be quiet. You got to make the adjustments. You got to do whatever it is that God tells you to do. And I walked into my son's room. This was probably about a few months, 6 months ago. And he was going through some stuff. And I walked in and I saw his Jesus candle on his dresser. And it was burning. I was like, my God, you can show them better than you can tell them. So I know Sean's like, I wasn't expecting all that. So I was like, what did I walk into? Did that answer your question, Sean?
Yeah, I think it's it sparked another question, which is a whole nother because I think one of the challenges, and I feel this burden as a religious leader, I think so even with a lot of stuff that I was taught, we kind of lean into like come out from among them, come out from among the world and be separate and all that good stuff. And we were overly promoting this secularism. Like, okay, society is just secular. And I think the problem is now society is not just more secular. Society has become more pluralistic. So now we got so many different thoughts and so many different. So some of the things that we accepted as principles, as facts, as guiding truths, so much of that now is being eroded. And so now it's hard to really engage because once kids get to college, I mean, you get exposed to so many different things. You get friends and professors, and just so much is going on. And I'm not sure that we've done the best job equipping the next generation with the tools that they need, not just to be, but also to think and to reason. And being able to navigate through that. So a part of what I feel like my calling is I want to, even when I think about legacy and what do I want to leave and how do I want to, like, I think about the power of words. Like my grandmother is in heaven, but she left me words to live by. Like we think about every major transformational leader that's come across human history. You think about Dr. King, you think about the Gandhi, you think about they left us words to live by. You think about Jesus. Jesus left us words to live by. And so it's like making sure that we don't lose that with the next generation, because you got to have, there has to be something that's guiding and shaping and driving you as you navigate into these various spaces. So I think we're in an interesting time, as you guys mentioned. We're in an interesting climate. Where everything's being impacted politically, socially, spiritually, emotionally. There's just so much going on that I think these types of conversations are so important to be able to engage, because there's a lot going on. There's a whole lot going on, and I'm grateful for you guys and your wisdom and offering your perspectives and your insights. They're needed. So hopefully we got some young folk watching this. They're tapped in to what you guys have shared.
And if I can, before we close, learning to follow the truth.
That's it.
Truth has its own ring to it. Like when you understand the power of truth, and I always teach, truth takes action, truth does what needs to be done, truth doesn't make a whole lot of noise. But the problem is that understanding the vibration of truth means that you have to be still and know. And a lot of times you always know the truth. You know exactly what you're supposed to do. But the problem is that because of all of the distractions in the world, we have so many competing voices and so many people that are authority figures and degreed and certified. And well, I know what God told me to. I know what this is. I know what it feels like. I know what, but I mean, let me weigh the pros and the cons. Let me go research a little bit more. We need to allow our children to practice operating in truth.
Mm.
Because once you truly experience what truth is, you're not going to go. Like, I know in my body, your body does not lie.
Mm.
And when you are connected spiritually, mentally, and physically, you spiritually know the truth. Your mind connects and it bridges the gap, and your body falls into line. Like in my body, there's certain parts that, like, I'll feel it in my solar plexus, or I'll feel it, or I'll get a twinge here or something. My body knows when I'm operating in the truth and when I'm operating in a lie, or when I'm operating in ambiguity. Wherever I am, my body responds in kind. But because we have been educated out of our genius, educated out of our greatness, educated out of our spirituality and the truth of who God has created us to be, that's by design. That's by design, because think about it. If everybody understood how to follow their God voice, you couldn't be controlled.
Mm-mm.
Everything wouldn't move people the same way, because everyone would have their own assignment and we could work harmoniously. But as long as there's competition, as long as there are all of these competing noises and voices, that's the problem. But truth stands on its own. I don't care if you're 102, 2 years old, or 102. Truth is going to render you silent. Pay attention. You tell somebody the absolute truth, they might move on to another conversation, or they might go back to it, but they're not going to tackle that topic because there's nothing they can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to learn the truth.
And what I wanted to add to that, to piggyback on what Alicia said and what you were saying, Sean, is that when you were talking about your grandmother and she left you words, those people that left us powerful words, they spoke in a truth. And those truths captured us in our souls and in our spirits. And anytime I have shared with someone from the depths of who I am out of my truth, that's what they have remembered the most.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Anytime you've had that insightful conversation, anytime you've talked to someone and you sat down and you were knee to knee, toe to toe, whatever it was, and you spoke in truth,
Ooh.
it penetrated and hit something in you and it stayed there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the other part that has been missing. Many of us have not wanted to share the truth with our children, with our parents, with our family about life itself. And some of us has created this mess ourselves because we've created this facade and told them, oh, just do this. No, let me tell you the truth of the matter.
Mm-hmm.
This is what is really happened. This is what is really going to be like. This is what I had to endure.
Mm-hmm.
And when you speak out of that place of truth, because in that place of truth, we understand it's mixed with the grace of God, the power of God, the love of God, the wonder of God, and that will always stand.
And pay attention to how truth hits people.
Ooh.
Like when you are operating 100% of the truth, not adding anything to what God has said and not taking anything from it. And practiced this over the years because I was always nervous when God would give me something. I was like, I can't go tell them that. God said, don't add anything to it and don't take anything from it, and you're going to be okay. And every time I give the message just the way God has given it to me, this is the response. Oh, girl, I got chills. Oh my God, something. Oh, the hairs on the back. Oh, girl, I feel it. Like, you will get a reaction from people when you are operating in 100%. 99% won't do. 100%, and you will get the confirmation that you need, that you have indeed connected spiritually. And that's what more people need. People need people to operate in 100%. Don't add anything to it. Don't take anything from it. And the Spirit will do the rest.
Yes, it will.
Without doubt.
Without doubt.
My God. Girl, we so over. But anyway, this is good. I got about 40 more minutes up in me, but this is good. This is good. Wow.
Ooh, all right, y'all.
Mm.
My heart is so full. My heart is full tonight. It really is. Because
Errica, I gotta say this.
Come
Okay,
on.
before we go, I'm sorry. When we were at the museum last weekend, and I'm happy Sean brought that up about the words. Every aspect of that museum, everything they used to keep us in bondage was written. Every law, every code, everything was documented. But they took us, scrambled our language, scrambled everything so we could not have that power of the word to keep us cohesive. Those slave ships were documented. 660 boarded, 480 survived. There were meticulous records kept for all of the things that they needed in order to perpetuate this system of enslavement. But in order to rob us, they stripped us of the language. They stripped us of our name. Everything, the words they stripped us of. And this is why it is so important for us to reclaim and to recapture the power of the word.
Come on.
Only say what you hear God telling you. Only speak what heaven instructs you to. This is how we're going to reinvigorate our lives. This is the way we're going to circumvent and redeem the time, by connecting to heaven and learning to say what heaven is speaking.
Yeah.
Because we have got to overwrite all of the words that were used to get us into this condition. Even our names were taken from us. So this is why the power of our words is imperative. I don't care about any other race at this point. For our people, it is imperative that we speak the truth in full, in spirit and truth, because that's the only way we're going to empower ourselves. We can't just say things half-heartedly. We can't just be loose with our language. We can't just make things up. We have to be very direct in how we instruct our children and those coming behind us, because words are power. Girl, this was good. I can't wait till next Monday. I'm done. Y'all done got me heated now. Oh my goodness. I'm about to speak in tongues. I don't know how that ties into the word. I'm about to.
Look, I was about to go right there with you because I'm telling you, when I tell you my heart is so full because I'm really there. God is so good. The power of our words is so important. Um, yes, it is. And it's in that place of gratitude that we use these words in our place of expression to thank God for all the beautiful things that He has blessed us with. He has allowed us to overcome, and we speak what heaven has already spoken to us. Because when we speak what God says, we automatically agree with heaven because His word will never return unto Him void, and it has to come to pass. We continue to speak the words directly from heaven. So, you all, that if we are over time, that is our time. I pray it was as good for you as it was for us because it was truly a blessing. Does anybody else have any parting words? Sean, Alicia, anything else anybody want to say before we before we close out? Alicia, like I'm covering my mouth. I don't want to say that now.
No, I think this was strong. I think this was strong. I'm just excited to be here, excited to be a part of the conversation. Grateful just for all of the wisdom and the insights and the perspective. And as you said, hopefully people are as blessed and as encouraged as we are. This is these kinds of platforms is what's going to help us right the ship. Um, if words got us in this mess, then words are gonna have to get us out. And so these kinds of platforms are helping us to do that. So thank you, Errica, for being obedient to God and starting this platform and then extending the opportunity for us to join you and for people to watch and all of the good things. So in the midst of all that we do see in the world that's negative, we can take encouragement to know that the same way these platforms can be used for evil, they can also be used for good. And so just thank you. Thank you for being obedient.
Well, I appreciate you all's time and thank you all for being here. We've got two more shows to go for this year, you all, before we close out. Please share this with someone and invite them for next week. For we will be back next week. And then our last show for the year is on the 18th because we want you to spend time with your family on Christmas Day. But I love you all so much. Thank you for being here with us. You all have a wonderful evening and take care.